Hey guys, today we are going to do this problem solving as a team assignment. Um, First things first, obviously it's a little bit weird to be talking about problem solving as a team when we all have to work individually, not as a team, but this is just kind of the predicament we are in. This assignment will be very similar to that past assignment where we used these steps to figure out how to not only solve a disagreement and problem solve, but how to do it uh, in an ideal manner, and how to maybe get to a way to propose a win-win agreement, which we talked about in class. So this is kind of review. Very similar, nothing really out of place, nothing really new here. It's just more applying it to problems you're gonna face in a workplace environment when you're having to meet as a team, and kind of how to navigate that as a team member. But with that being said, it's still very much something you guys are used to, and a lot of these problems are problems that you just kind of run into in everyday life sometimes, and we'll get into that a little bit here. So it's not necessarily just applicable for the workplace environment, but we're going to focus on that because that is the point of this unit. So I did this one. You have a team member who's always late. That is the one I focused on. So then obviously you guys can't do that. So then you just pick anything between problems 2 and 10, um, and there's really kind of a wide array range of things you can get into and solve with that. So I'll be having you guys do this worksheet just like this. Yes, I know I'm not, a master at making pretty looking worksheets. It's really plain and boring, and I will work on that. Um, but but here we are. I did just figure out today how to assign you guys things, like how to make it so you can each have a copy of something, in and so you can actually go in and edit a document rather than just doing a Google form. So I think that might make things a little bit easier, maybe not, whatever. So definitely still figuring this out as we go. Okay, so as I said, we're gonna use the win-win negotiation steps on this problem solving on these problem solving problems, I guess, on these workplace problems. That's what I meant to say. So we have a team member who is always late. That is step number one. Just identify the problem. That really your easiest step. You're pretty much just taking one of these here, whatever one you choose, and just copying it right onto here. Although I think it is a PDF, so I don't think you guys can actually copy and paste. So you'll have to type it out. So yeah, you have to do like 10 more seconds of work. My bad. Okay, so identify the problem. Easy, straightforward, right? Express what you want. And this isn't necessarily what you're going to say to the person. This is just gathering your own thoughts. What you want? Well, this is, in a situation like this, and most of them will be like this, really straightforward. I would like you to come in early. I wrote it from like a perspective of I was talking to them. Um, and that's just, I don't know, that's just what I went with. But if you don't have to write it like that, you can just say like, in this situation, I would like the person to come in early. Um, okay, then we go on to step two, right? We just did step two. Then we go on to step three. Um, and kind of a predict and address. This one I think is a really crucial step. And you got to be ready for people to get mad, or not necessarily mad, but defensive, upset and defensive. So I really just want you to predict kind of what emotions they might feel and how they might react. You can even put, I don't need you guys to go super in depth with this, but if you want to put things they might say, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm really kind of looking for how is this going to make them feel? Um, and I said they might be, we don't know, but they might be upset and they might get defensive. Some people have a hard time taking criticism, which is part of the reason why we spent a lot of time on it, because people don't like to be told they're doing something wrong. No one likes to be put in that position, so you got to be prepared for that. And that all comes with delivery. If I go up to someone and I say, why are you always late all the time? In just kind of like a rude, snarky matter, then and sometimes, don't get me wrong, it's human nature to want to be rude and snarky sometimes, especially when people are really annoying you, like in this case. But you're in a professional work environment, and you're at the end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem, so that's not going to help you at all. So you got to be careful about how you address it. So saying something like, "Hey, I've noticed you haven't been coming to our meetings on time. Um, is everything okay?" That is a much more appropriate way to saying what you observed, and then just offering a little bit of condolence for them. As annoying as they might be, as annoyed as you might be in this situation, as in terms of solving the problem, you're a lot better off approaching it that way. Um, So yeah, but I don't need you to go into that much detail. I just need you to say what their emotions are. So then this really, ooh, I forgot a bracket. My bad. Um, and actively listen is when this part really kicks in. Um, what might the problem be, right? And this part's really important because it gives you some context for, you might be upset with this person, and then you talk to them and, oh well, they had to drop their kids off at daycare. No, that's that's not necessarily an excuse, but it's more reasonable than, because maybe in your head you're just thinking, well, they're just eating, taking too long eating breakfast, or they're taking a really long shower, or they're sleeping in, or whatever. It's really easy to kind of jump to those more negative, cynical conclusions. Well, and you actually talk to them. Okay, well, this is they're a new mom, they're a new dad, and they're dropping their kids off at daycare. And I've had to deal with kids, and maybe the empathy can kick in then. Maybe, you're not a parent. None of you guys are parents, obviously. But, um, I've had to babysit kids before, and they can be a pain to deal with, quite frankly. So that's a bit more reasonable. Um, so just what they might think, or maybe, well, they take the bus and it drops them off, doesn't drop them off until 15 minutes into the meeting. So maybe the earliest the only way they could get to the bus schedule, they'd have to be at work for, 3 hours before the meeting starts, and that's kind of unreasonable for them. Or maybe that's just the first time the bus gets there. Well, at that point, it's not really their fault. They were kind of out of options. Sure, they could have communicated that to you better. They probably shouldn't have let it get to this point where you're having to kind of go out of your way to figure out what the problem is. But again, like, dwelling on those things not going to solve the problem. Um, so then you can go ahead and so then when you get that context and you actively listen, and I mean actively listen, like eye contact, nodding your head to make sure you understand, not just like a what, and then you're on your phone. Obviously, we know better than that. That's not actively listen. You actively listen. You figure out where they're coming from. That's where you can possibly propose a win-win agreement. And I said possibly because, like we've discussed in class, we can't always get to a win-win agreement. Let's say, like, well, you're a busy working person, whatever. You don't have the time to fit them in because of the bus schedule, because they have to drop their kids off or whatever. So it might be unreasonable, and you can write that. Like, if you say there's not a win-win agreement, that you have to put more context to that. Like, so if I was going to put there's not a win-win agreement, um, you have to state why. So there's not a win-win agreement in this case because I have meetings all day and I can't schedule them in. Then you just write that out and you'll get full points. If you just write, um, there's no win-win agreement with no context. Well, then I'm not, you're going to lose points on that because you're not really explaining anything. Um, and so, like I said, as I kind of alluded to, proposed win-win agreement. In this case, pretty straightforward. Have meetings start later. If that's possible, go ahead and do that. Part of being a team player and part of just being on a team in general is being flexible, as annoying as that can be sometimes, and kind of working around people's schedule. And you know what? If you go ahead and do this, you can make this work and make it so they propose this win-win agreement. They're going to be really thankful, and that's going to foster a better working environment for you. So that is what I want you guys to do. I just want you to, like, again, anything but question one. I'm going to be very clear about that. Do not do question one, because I did question one, so that'd be kind of weird if you did it. But any of these other ones you can go ahead and do. And so you'll have a worksheet that looks just like this. Put the problem, I should have covered this earlier. So I know what problem you did, put it here. So for instance, I did problem one. So whatever, so you can't do that. But if you're doing problem two, put problem two there, three, whatever. The one that corresponds with the one you're doing, so I know which one you're doing. I'll post this just as like a screenshot in the assignment, and then you'll have this copy too, and then I might even post this too, even though it's already in this worksheet, just to give you guys some more resources there. So yeah, email me if you have any questions. And yeah, I think that's all. Good luck, guys.